He's crazy like Jack Bauer. His name is Forest Power. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, YouTube. It's taken me a little longer than I anticipated to pump this video out onto your YouTube homepages, primarily because I've spent all weekend at my brother's wedding, and yes, I had to give the best man speech, but no, I didn't use my YouTube introduction to kick things off. Ladies and gentlemen, hundreds of years ago, tribesmen gathered on various parts of the globe to fight with each other. In today's modern society, this is simply not acceptable, and therefore the compromise that we've got is that we have a great thing called sports. Yes, sports. Today, guys, I'm going to explore the reason why sports have become the outlet for primarily letting males express themselves in a physically dominant way, and also why sports are so important within society. So let me paint a little picture for you. Just a few short weeks ago, there I was, stood in a labour club in my local town with a red and white flag draped around my neck. I also had a white wig on, trying to pretend I was the life and soul of the party, furiously clutching at a pint of whatever I could get my hands on, as we watched the European football, not soccer, championships, and supported our native homeland of England. No, I've never been one for national pride particularly. You do see these people that are very much into this idea of England or America is this great place, but I actually feel that national pride sometimes can actually be divisive, and certainly over here at times it's been a bit of a source of racial tension. But with that aside, there is nothing quite like supporting your country when you're with your friends. For those of you that don't live in good old Blighty, England is pretty segregated when it comes to sporting events. Football is such a divisive thing in this country. I'm sure you've seen some of those football hooligan films that we've got going on over here. And every time there is a local rivalry, it seems to break out in some kind of violent conflict between supporters. But when the country comes together to support the national team, there's actually nothing quite like it. In terms of the European Championships, England did pretty well. In fact, they did better than pretty well. We actually made it to the final, something that during my 36 years on this planet, I have never witnessed live up until this point. But unfortunately, as you're probably all well aware, we came up short at the last hurdle, which was very, very unfortunate. But this is not a commentary that's just about football, though. I want to go deeper into the issue than that. I want this to be about how sport can actually unite people, bring people together. Now, what you might kind of throw into the argument at this point is that during that European Championship, there was a lot of criticism in the media about an image of a German girl crying after their match with England because it was photoshopped by quite a lot of people, hundreds of people, using memes on Twitter in a very, very unpleasant way. And I'm not really going to share those memes with you today because I'm sure that you've already seen them and got your hands on them. But, like I say, the people making memes, you might have had 50 people making unpleasant memes. And sadly in life, you're always going to get bad eggs. In comparison, though, we had an entire country of, 65, 66 million people all backing the red and white of England. And I think it's quite interesting that the media decided to focus on the negative antics of football supporters during these championships rather than the togetherness that it fostered from those people who banded together to support the country. If you think about the statistics in terms of people that use sporting events to behave in an aggressive way, in an inappropriate way, in a way that's not befitting of society in 2021, it's actually very minute in comparison to the people that use sport as an outlay for whatever tendency they need to kind of fulfill. And for that reason, we've always got to remember that sports has got a lot of power, and primarily it's the power to do good things in life. And like I say, I think it's quite interesting that the media, once again, choose to focus on negative aspects of sport. It's actually crazy to think what a positive impact that European Football Championship had on the country of England, as it completely changed the atmosphere and changed the dynamic in which people actually communicated with each other. I was driving my car and you've got people beeping their horns, you've got people smiling at each other on the street, and for a brief period of time you actually felt a sense of togetherness, like you were part of a collective. And I think that's something that everyone walking the face of this planet could do with. I think that we all need that sort of belonging in our lives, particularly men. You know, we have evolved from existing as tribesmen back in the days and being barbaric and going to war with other tribes. And I feel like sport kind of bridges the gap in our evolution from this kind of barbaric past to something a little bit more civilized. And for that reason, you know, I will never stop talking about the benefits of sport. For those of you that don't know, over my storied past, I have partaken in quite a few different sporting ventures. I actually started off live playing rugby from quite an early age. Then I moved on to football, cricket. In actual fact, our family's primary sport would actually be table tennis, as my dad and my brothers were both table tennis champions, and the same as I was. I actually transitioned about kind of 21 years old. In fact, it was 21 on the nose. I remember it being my 21st birthday, and I went to a mixed martial arts gym for the first time and did that for about 8 to 10 years. And every sport that I've kind of been a part of has given me something fresh as a person. It's actually added something to my personality and changed the way in which I look at the world. I mean, for example, when I did start wrestling and doing mixed martial arts, because it was such a direct competition with another person, everything else in my life felt like it had the music turned down on it. Any problem that I had in the real world didn't seem as great a deal when you've kind of been trapped on the bottom with a 25-stone bloke on top of you and you've got to kind of solve that conundrum and get out. So I really respect the lessons that sport has taught me over the years, and I feel like my life would be such a darker place without it. I think a lot of criticisms are levelled at sporting fans when they kind of band together in this kind of hooligan aspect that we were referring to before. But when you think about it logically, those people are fulfilling some kind of lack. Those people that get involved in these kind of thuggish groups are probably doing so because they've been searching for some kind of collective or belonging for a long time in life, and that's the only way that they can find it. And in some ways, the hooligan aspect to sport is pretty sad, because it's almost like they use sport as this kind of outlet for the primitive and primal instincts that won't kind of release them. But, like I say, I think the positives associated with sport in terms of, you know, the togetherness, the effect that it can have on your mental health, and the general life lessons that sport provides, also alongside the obvious physical benefits, just outweigh any negatives that really can be attached to it. So my advice would be to keep watching sports, as it likely fulfills something within your personality in an ancestral way. And also, it's great to get out there in the wider world. You don't have to spend every waking minute holed up in your bedroom playing on online games. Well, at least in my opinion. There's time for everything in this life. But what do you think, guys? Are sports a positive force in the world, or do you actually think they are a negative thing? Let me know in the comment section below. If you have made it this far through my video, congratulations, you've put up with me for a long time now. Please feel free to drop a like, as it does support me immensely. And I guess that means that all that's left for me to say is, once again, thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Forest Power, and it's definitely been emotional.